Andrew Tate versus Greta Thunberg. Saw the tweets between them, back and forth, saw what he said to her, saw what she said to him, saw how he responded, and then saw how this electrified the internet. Because this is heavy trending on Twitter. Heavily trending on Twitter. And I was like, I had one initial thought about this story. And then I thought about it and I realized, I came away with a different insight. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this video. And my take on the situation is going to surprise a lot of people. So we start here with Andrew Tate basically trolling Greta Thunberg. And she responds to basically telling him to get a life. And then there's a bunch of people who are just overjoyed with how badly he played himself and made himself look like a fool. And in fact, you even have Lolo Jones chime in about how stupid he must feel right now. But you do have some supporters of Andrew Tate, and you have one of the non-black faces behind Brexit, and then Jackson Hinkle, who is the proponent of the MAGA socialist movement, who are claiming that it's bots that are supporting, and bots, by like actual bots, are supporting Greta Thunberg. And then some additional stuff happened, which caused me to say, okay, welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. Andrew Tate is a very popular, very well-known individual in the, I guess you could say, red pill space, the manosphere. And Greta Thunberg is an activist, a climate change activist. And he tweeted at Greta Thunberg, about his 33 cars. And hey, get back to me. Let me know where I can send you the information about all the emissions and stuff that that my vehicles and my fleet of vehicles is making. She tweeted back, well, yes, that's information that'll be very useful. You can send it to my email address. Send it to my email address at smalldickenergy@getalife.com. Yes, Greta Thunberg ethered Andrew Tate. And like people were just like, imagine at school, like you say something, you think you're smart and witty with what you said, and the person comes back at you and everyone is like, oh, and now you got to stand there and watch everybody just revel in you getting utterly humiliated. Yeah, it doesn't feel great, but when those times happen, you got to realize, I picked a snap battle. I just got demolished. You just got to eat it. Like, that's the mature thing to do. The mature thing to do is like, man, I just got like the meme says, man, I just got cooked. That would be the acceptable response. And his response to her doing this was, he responded, how dare you? A joke about one of her most, famous speeches that she gave. And I said, you know what? I got to give him credit. I got to give him credit, because that's a response that, like, okay, you got me. Like, that was a response that indicated that he was willing to just take the L. Good one. And, with the sense of humor and not getting, butthurt like somebody who's, like, let's say a public figure whose name rhymes with Corden Meterson, and who starts crying and whining and winds up rage quitting Twitter because they said something to insult somebody, got pushback, and then they felt, why is this happening to me? He didn't do that. And I said, you know what? When I tell this story, I've got to give him credit, because that's what I realized. I said, okay, he took it in stride, came back with a little playful jab, back. And it's not even like a jab at her. It's like just a barb. He said something, that's lightful and lighthearted and playful and cool. He took the L like a man. That's what you're supposed to do. Take it like a man. Because listen, if you've ever been in a rank battle with a female, sometimes you'll get embarrassed. Bad. Don't get in your feelings. Don't get in your emotions. Don't take take it like a man. Be like, wow. Okay, I had that one coming, or I know not to bark up this tree anymore. But you take it like a man, and I was like, you know what? Kudos. I got to give him that. But I did notice a couple of things about what he did. And by the way, that was where I was planning to take this video. But I noticed a couple of things about what he did. One, I says, it was telling about his psychology that he used this climate change as an excuse to brag about his material possessions. That was slick. And I have to give him credit. I almost missed that. I'm like, you used climate change as an excuse to do a little not so humble brag about, haha, I got 33 cars. You know what? That was a little slick play. But ultimately, the climate change issue, I think, and one of the pieces of advice I will have to anybody who's a fan of Andrew Tate, in fact, anybody who's a fan, whichever side you fall on, there's a book I really think you should read. And it's a fiction book. It's a book of fiction, it's a work of fiction, but it deals with some of these themes. It's a book by Michael Crichton, the late Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park. He wrote a book called State of Fear. I highly recommend this book. And it's like, when I read Jurassic Park, I realized that, number one, the movie, as good as it was, didn't do the book justice. The book was phenomenal. And I realized that when Michael Crichton writes, he's not just telling a fictional story. He's telling a fictional story, but he's also delving into often like these deeper scientific discussions. And it's like, okay, so he gets into things in State of Fear. And like I said, highly recommend it. And even if you're an Andrew Tate fan, and you're following his advice about not reading books, ignore that advice, read this book. I do take issue with the fact that you have people reflexively not only bristle against, some of the climate change narratives, and let's keep it real, there are narratives, because it's shifted, it's changed, and it's altered to fit, certain ideas. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong. That means that this is something that should put your antennas up, and then you do the research. But just spouting against the climate change movement without actually doing research, like saying, okay, that's something I'm going to look into, I'm all for it. But saying, oh, this is fake, okay, have you done the research? Because now you're making a definitive claim opposite somebody else's claim. Now, a bunch of these people have actually done some research and are coming with some data to support what they're saying. If you're coming with nothing but your feelings of, this sounds fishy, that feeling should be the impetus to get you to do research. But if all you have is your feelings, then that's not logical. That's not objective. That's not reasonable. That's putting feelings over facts. Like that's the exact opposite of where people in this space are supposed to be. Like, especially like the manosphere. The manosphere is supposed to be about logic over emotions, facts over feelings. This is the opposite. I see that happening a lot in that space. But because he clearly doesn't believe in a lot of the narratives around climate change, I'm waiting to see what he has to say about the actual facts. But then I also have to amend my earlier assessment of him taking this like a champ, taking this like a man, and just accepting, being gracious in accepting, getting ethered, getting owned, getting publicly embarrassed and humiliated. But and the humiliation part, I think, is not so much getting publicly embarrassed is one thing. I think how you take it is what makes it a humiliation or not. And so I think it may be too strong to say his public embarrassment actually qualified as humiliation because he had taken it so well. And then he continued. You see, he didn't stop with just, how dare you? He decided to actually put out a video. I'm like, this motherfucker. Like, I'm trying to get, I was like, you know what? I was going to give you some credit, dude. I was going to give you some credit, dude. And then your massive overinflated ego could not handle getting embarrassed by a girl. So he came back with a video and where he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you had a small dick." Like, so basically, I know you are, but what am I? But it doesn't even make sense because she's a female, and and then he does his obligatory trans joke in there. Well, because I don't know how you identify. I'm like it wasn't funny. It made him look worse. Like the L that he had took just grew. Had he just kept it at the "how dare you," it was okay. He took it in stride. The video is what takes it to a level of, dude, like you're incapable of just holding the L, of just saying, you know what, I'm gonna take it like a man. He's incapable of it. But he just can, like, he's saying several things, including ridiculous rants about the Matrix. And I'm gonna deal with Andrew Tate and the Matrix at some point in the future, in the near future. He's claiming that there's a bot farm that increased the engagement, and that the global Matrix is out to try to make him look bad because he called out Greta Thunberg on her bullshit. And I'm like, dude, you lost, man. Live with it. Live with it. As always, that's it. Listen, if you disagree, if you think, yeah, he showed her and the Matrix is just out to suppress him, okay, feel free to give me a thumbs down and tell me what he said about climate change disproves any of the science, any of it. If you agree with my take, you can feel free to give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe if you have not subscribed already, and I'll see you next time.